I'm Belle. I'm here to bring you a tarot reading for today, and actually you can listen to this whenever you feel like watching the video. This is a tarot reading that doesn't have a specific time limit on it, and always remember to think for yourself. The tarot is only my own interpretation of it, so I hope you just take some inspiration. Today I'm going to be using the Shadowscapes Tarot. Shadowscapes Tarot is by Stephanie Pugh-Moon-Law. She does beautiful artwork. The cards are really fantastical and really fun. Today what's on my mind is that I'm thinking about ways we have our own personal strength and how we respect ourselves and others, and the way that we don't owe anyone an explanation for what we're doing in our lives. Our lives are our own to be creative with, and a lot of times we feel different social pressures to do things a certain way, but as long as we're healthy and happy and have a good sense of well-being, it's up to us to do whatever we want with our own life. So that's a really important thing for me to remember, especially on this journey of learning about the tarot more. I feel like tarot is really about creativity and an individual spiritual path. And to me, an individual spiritual path is very much about those things I mentioned, like strength, personal power, self-respect, and not owing anyone an explanation for anything about your own life. Of course, people we trust, we want to share things about our life with, but if it's, you don't have to share any details of your life with anyone you don't want to. So anyway, that's always good to remember. Okay, so I drew 5 cards today. I haven't looked at them yet. Let's see what comes up. I'm kind of curious if the cards will be related to strength and respect at all, or if they'll just be kind of random and about something else, but we will see. Okay, the first card is, oh wow, the 6 of Pentacles. This card has been coming up a good amount from this Shadowscapes Tarot deck. When I do personal readings, I think it means, okay, to me it means there's something new growing that has a lot of, let's see, how would I say this? There's something new growing, and it's being showered with many blessings and a lot of new opportunities. So obviously, as a metaphor, this could be anything new that's growing in your life, like a seed that you planted about an idea or a project, and then the universe in different ways is showering this new idea or this new thing with even more opportunities. I think you have to take this as a total metaphor, because obviously you wouldn't want to throw large coins at a plant that's just sprouting, because that would crush it. But I get more of a positive sense of this card. Yeah, 6 of Pentacles. So new beginnings, new growth opportunities, and then starting things that lead to even more opportunities. Great. Second card is the King of Cups. It was interesting how I was talking about respect earlier, and I noticed in this card how the King of Cups is pictured as a merman, and he is looking eye to eye with a seahorse. And it just seems to me that, it doesn't matter. The fact that the King of Cups is this mighty person who's like a merman of the sea, it just seems like they have a lot of respect for each other, because they're meeting eye to eye. The seahorse and the merman are meeting eye to eye. And then there are these sea turtles here too. would say about this card. I just think it's about the respect that I was mentioning earlier. Now, it doesn't have to do with anything obvious sometimes, like things that are flashy that sometimes get a silly sense of respect, that things that don't really matter that much. That's not what this card is about. This card is about, like, on a soul level and on a personal level respecting people, even if they're from a different background than you are, even if they're doing something totally different with their life than you are. Oh, this is interesting. This is the Ace of Swords. The last time we got this card, I was inspired by the idea that this could be about individualism, like a sense of identity, because the sword reminds me of saying I am, so having that sense of self, and maybe it's also a sense of being centered, because the sword is in the center of the card like that, with the animals and the birds surrounding it. I've been thinking recently about how important it is to have a strong sense of self. I think a lot of the spiritual teachings I read at different times talk about different types of personal development. And some of the types of personal development are about tuning in so much to things in a spiritual way that it seems to me like sometimes some spiritual teachings are asking you to give up some of your identity, and maybe I'm just reading it incorrectly, but I think there needs to be a balance. I think you can have a strong sense of your own personal identity without having the worst sense of an ego, and I think you can have very vibrant spiritual practices while still having like a really grounded and centered sense of yourself. I'll have to think of some better examples for next time if I want to really compare different spiritual practices, because obviously I'm being kind of vague right now. But yeah, this reminds me of individualism, so like staying true to yourself, staying true to your own identity. The Four of Swords. This is a goddess, it looks like, almost like a sun goddess, because the sun is there behind her, or at least this really bright light. Four of Swords. I get the sense that the goddess has an attitude of peacefulness. She is, I don't know, it's kind of about having a relaxed sense of peacefulness and strength, I think, because I just see her as being really powerful in her own way, but she doesn't feel a need to show that off. She's not going to go around looking for fights when she doesn't need to. So to me, Four of Swords, and the way that I'm interpreting this card, excuse me, is a good reminder to center and ground your sense of personal power and know your own sense of strength, but you don't need anyone else to validate your sense of strength. In fact, expecting an outside validation for your sense of strength kind of undermines you. So that's what I'd say about this card. That's what it reminds me of. The last card is Knight of Wands. This is a very bold and brave card. There's some foxes there. There's a, kind of looks like a gigantic lion type creature with some kind of horns. It's kind of a fantastical creature. And it looks like they're kind of like investigating the perimeter. If this was like a story, you could say like, okay, these people are scouting out what's happening around the perimeter of the kingdom or something. So I would say this is about being vigilant and having a sense of your power, and it's not looking for fights, but being aware, like having a bold sense of awareness and having strong boundaries. And the great thing about having strong boundaries is that then you don't have to worry about different situations coming up because you know you can handle it in the best way possible for you. So these are some interesting cards. Like, I'm really happy with what we saw today in the cards. Let's see. I'll do a brief overview. If I was looking at all of them, I would say it's almost kind of about the relationship we have with different aspects of ourselves. Because, like, in the first card, you've started something new and you have new opportunities because of something you already started that's blossoming. That's like believing in yourself. And then this is about mutual respect, even from people with different backgrounds. This is about a strong sense of your own identity, even if you're supported by a vibrant spiritual practice. It doesn't mean you have to pretend to be some way other than how you really are, which is something I ran into recently. I really tried to stay away from it, but I felt like some feelings or some attitudes were more spiritual than others, which is a little bit silly when you say it like that, but I think sometimes we feel like we have to uphold a certain sense of things or a certain persona, you could say. Anyway, but I was talking to my husband Joey, and he had a great idea about how like sometimes to be your authentic self, it's not going to be that perfect. It's not going to be very impressive to anyone. It might step on people's toes a little bit if you need to have your voice heard in a certain way. So it's kind of interesting because I feel like I've spent my life trying to be a pretty sweet person and a pretty open-hearted person, but along with that you have to be incredibly strong, because if you're not, people will have a tendency to walk all over you. Because a lot of people think that if you're a kind person, there's something a little bit less serious about you, or a little bit I don't know, it's just sometimes people can be jerks and you just have to make sure your boundaries clear. And I guess I've run into that a lot in my life. Probably everyone has. I think we're kind of in a culture these days it's a little bit cynical, a little bit into kind of flippantly insulting people if we think that it makes us look cool, or if we think that'll be kind of a fun thing to say. I don't know, maybe I'm just being too cynical to say that, but it kind of seems like it sometimes. So if you're kind of more of a heart-centered person, more of a sweet person, or if that's part of my persona, and then sometimes to stand up for myself, people may think I'm being too assertive. Like, that's none of their business. As long as I'm being respectful still, I have to hold my boundaries in different ways. Anyway, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I think it goes with the idea of having a personal identity, a strong sense of your own identity, and not trying to necessarily downplay parts of yourself just because you think it's a little bit less appealing or something like that. And the last two, but this one was about like a quiet, peaceful sense of strength that doesn't need to look for issues or problems. And then this one's about being vigilant and having strong boundaries. Great. Well, I've spoken about the tarot for 15 minutes now, so I think that's about it for today. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.